Who's actually getting value out of a home-scale direct flame coffee roaster? Who can safely walk away? And does the price make sense for the everyday coffee enthusiast? That's the question that pops up every time I see a machine like the KALDI Fortis on a marketplace. If you've ever felt the sting of a roaster that promised big batch glory, but then left you tangled in uneven beans or a smoky kitchen, you know the hesitation. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I first heard about the Fortis, my mind went straight to the scenario most hobbyist roasters face. You have a decent amount of green beans, you want to roast a full pot for a small gathering, and you're trying to avoid the fuss of a professional-grade setup that needs a dedicated space and a steep learning curve. The big selling point is the direct flame technology, which, on paper, should give you a clean heat source without the latency you see in electric heating elements. The idea is that the flame hits the drum uniformly, letting you dial in a profile faster. And the dual thermometer options promise more precise temperature monitoring, something many forums argue is the difference between a flat-baked batch and a nuanced caramelized finish. The first thing I tried to sort out in my research was whether the large batch capacity is actually useful for a home kitchen or if it just means you end up with a half-filled drum and wasted heat. The capacity is around 2 kilograms, which translates to about 10 cups of coffee for a typical small gathering. If you're someone who drinks a single cup a day, that size is overkill. Conversely, if you host weekend brunches, run a small BB, or simply love having a fresh pot ready for a group, the volume becomes a real advantage. The drum itself is a professional-style stainless steel cylinder, which many reviewers note holds heat well, but that also means the machine needs a solid, heat-resistant surface and a little breathing room on the countertop. The universal power compatibility is a nice claim, meaning the unit runs on standard 110120V in the US and can be used overseas with the proper plug, but the real draw is that the flame is fed by a standard gas line, so you're not chained to an outlet. Now, let's break down who should actually consider the Fortis. If you've been roasting beans for a couple of years, you probably understand the importance of being able to see the bean color evolve in real time, adjust the heat on the fly, and have a reliable temperature readout. The dual thermometer setup, one internal lets you compare the drum's surface temperature to the bean core. For a user who's already tracking roast curves on a laptop or a phone, that extra data point is a genuine time saver, especially when you're trying to replicate a favorite profile. If you have a gas line in your kitchen or a well-ventilated outdoor area where you can safely run a small propane hose, the direct flame makes sense because the heat spikes are instantaneous and you can recover quickly if you overshoot. On the other hand, if you're a total beginner who still thinks a basic popcorn popper is a decent starter, the Fortis might feel intimidating. The flame requires careful setup, checking for leaks, adjusting the regulator, and ensuring proper ventilation to avoid any buildup of carbon monoxide. Not everyone wants to spend the extra minutes each session doing a safety check, and the learning curve can be a turnoff. Also, those living in apartments where open flames are prohibited or heavily regulated should skip this model entirely. The direct flame element is non-negotiable. Practical strengths start to surface once you move past the initial setup. The heat response is fast. I heard a fellow roaster say that the temperature swing from 0 to 300 F in the drum was under a minute, which is a significant advantage when you want to lock in a specific development time. For a blend that needs a short light roast followed by a quick turn to a medium finish, that speed translates into less bean burn and a more consistent flavor profile. The dual thermometers also give you a safety net. If the external sensor reads higher than the internal, you know the drum is heating faster than the beans, prompting an early adjustment to avoid scorching. Users who have tried the unit for Ethiopian Yirgacheffe noted that the flame's clean heat preserved the delicate floral notes better than electric roasters that sometimes introduce a faint metallic taste. There are trade-offs too. The biggest hidden cost is the fuel consumption. Because you're feeding a constant flame, you'll notice a steady hiss of propane, which can add up if you roast daily. That's something the spec sheet doesn't highlight, but a couple of forum posts mentioned a half hour of roasting draining a small 1-liter propane tank. If you're planning to roast once a week, it's negligible. If you aim for a daily habit, the expense could push your monthly coffee budget higher than anticipated. Another practical weakness is the cleanup. Direct flame leaves.